military man doing a military movie review.
Yeah, I mean, worst thing ever.
I mean, here's the thing. I didn't hate the film.
No, the Covenant.
Yeah, The Covenant, Guy Ritchie's new film. So first things first, like, the fact that this is a Guy Ritchie film...
Sure.
I know you don't know anything about Guy Ritchie.
I don't.
So, yeah, that's fine. But, like, this is not the film that I would ever think that Guy Ritchie would do. And I feel like Guy Ritchie is one of those directors who, like... He's always alternating between something good and something shit, and then he has a hit, and then he, like shoots himself in the dick, and then, like... So,
he's one of those.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah, like so he did the Sherlock Holmes movies, the most recent ones that were really big hits. So
with Robert Downey Jr.?
Yeah, he did those.
Got it.
But then he snowballed that into doing that King Arthur mess with Jack something other who was on Sons of Anarchy. He was
I didn't like that one.
Yeah, that movie lost like $300 million.
Oof.
And, like, so now he's doing a smaller film.
Sure.
Because everyone's like, we don't like it, that guy money. But I feel like that's his career, is like he'll do, like something like that's well above his league. And
sure.
then he shits the bed. Like, like, I'm not trying to be a dick, but, like, he's also one of those guys who every time I've ever seen an interview with him, like, he's always talking about how smart he is and cerebral, but it's like the dumb guy who thinks he's smart, but he's always telling you how smart he is.
Yeah.
Like, I always feel like he's like the guy who's like moderately above average intelligence, who's trying really hard to keep up with geniuses.
He's the I went to Princeton guy, but he didn't graduate.
Yeah.
He literally just went to Princeton. He's
like that dude on The Office who, like, I went to what was the school that guy? Did you ever see The Office?
No.
The Office, so we're not together. But I can't even think of it. He went to one of the Ivy League schools, and like he tells everyone, but that's like his one accomplishment in life. And like all of his family also went there, and like he got in as a legacy, but like you feel like they deserved it, and he's like the
shoe-in.
Yeah. I mean, like, I don't hate Guy Ritchie. He's done a couple of good films, and I also find that the films of his I like the best are the ones that aren't the biggest. Like Rock and Rolla is probably his best film, which is a British gangster movie that I know you probably never saw. But anyways, he did this movie about the military, and I always feel like when Hollywood does a military movie, they always fuck it the fuck up.
Again, military man reviewing a military movie.
Yeah, so, like, I felt, like I was embedded with Special Forces in Afghanistan. I generally speak the language. So, like, talking about interpreter processes and all of this, I'm like, I know all of this shit.
Sure.
So, like, there's a lot of, like, the uniforms are wrong, the wrong era, and it's also funny, like I was like, well, it's, Spec Ops, like, their uniforms aren't always, like, whatever, and then, like, you see, the pictures at the end of the movie, I'm like, oh, no, I was right.
Right.
Yeah, all of my instincts were correct.
Right.
So I'll get into a lot of the technical details and the spoiler part, but overall, I would say it's a well-meaning film.
Sure.
It does, it's not the best war film I've ever seen. I like to think that, like, it's a lot of the forgotten era of films. Like here's where I feel like this film lines up from a political standpoint.
Sure.
You can't talk about those wars anymore because they're politically incorrect and they're kind of over.
Sure.
And here's the thing, is like, I remember when all of those films were coming out is when you could be critical and put it completely on Bush. And then when Obama kept the wars going, the wars all of a sudden, they were fine. Like, there were no more, no blood for oil signs because a black guy was doing it, so, like, it's fine now.
Right.
So there's no outcry and there's no whatever. And now, like, when, the soldiers come back and they're like, oh, there are problems and there's whatever, it's like, well, you just don't like the president's black or some bullshit,
Yeah.
And then Trump pulls us out of things. And they're like, wars are good. He's going to fuck up everything. And it's like, weren't you the same people saying shit when whatever? And then you have Biden shit the bed worse than anybody's ever shit the bed ever in Afghanistan. And it's like the fact that you can even talk about Afghanistan during the Biden presidency. I'm just like, the fact that got greenlit at all Good job.
It's very ambiguous, though, because they do, at the end of the film, very pointedly say, we left these guys, the interpreters. When I say these guys, we left the interpreters who were promised. I'll say the word asylum because
citizenship,
that's they were promised citizenship, asylum. They were promised a promise to be able to leave their country and come to our country because they were providing a service that essentially was going against their neighbors. Right? And the film very pointedly says, we left these guys behind, but it's ambiguous in that it doesn't say who, or, like, it says the year. I want to say it says the year.
Like in current times. So, like, here's the thing. Like, I feel like we've gotten to the point of, you can't talk about the soldier being a good thing because that's a right-wing thing. So, like, you can't give that, but, like, this brown other country person that was hurt by the government that we can, like, that we're ambiguously not giving blame to, we can talk about how they're oppressed.
Well, it was very much a brotherhood.
I think that's true.
It was a brotherhood movie with a military costume.
Yes.
And so that's what made it okay. Like, that's what made it okay to be greenlit, is what I mean.
That's what I mean. Like, the politics of the movie get weird because, like, there's a lot of things that aren't being said where, like, I don't know, like, this actually isn't the story that I thought it was because I saw the commercial. There's no names in the commercial. So, like, I heard a very similar story by a pretty famous Special Forces guy. So I'm like, they're gonna tell that story. It wasn't that one. But that, when they got people out, it was actually during the fall, which this was not. This takes place before. This movie didn't look like it had the budget to actually do a big battle scene. Like, it's kind of a smallish big one in here, but this is a very low budget film.
You could tell that it had a good budget, but it wasn't.
It was a mid-budget. It wasn't low, but it was fairly low.
Well, right. That's what I mean. Is like it had a good budget to make it not a B film.
Right.
Like, it had just enough.
I would call this a B film.
You would?
Yeah. For modern blockbuster types, yes, this is a B film, but by modern standards. I think in the 90s it would have been an A film. Or at least like a A- film, like maybe not your like blockbuster film, but definitely like a studio whatever film. Now I feel like, when you're competing with everything costing $100 million out the gate, this
well, I mean,
this probably had a third of the budget. Like, this is like the mid-tier, like, mid-budget film that's kind of gone out of the studio system, to be honest.
But what I liked about it is actually that. I kind of liked that it was not CGI, over the top, like tanks flying over, other tanks. Like, I kind of liked that it was a, like, realish film.
No, absolutely. I like that. It was mostly done. I feel like there's some tactical things that, like, like uniforms and things that, like, I can poke holes in and not really, like, I'm not trying to be that guy, but it's also just, it's hard to watch when people are doing stupid things and then they get stupid results. And it's like, I don't think, because it's probably a real guy, and I'm not trying to say the real guy did a stupid thing. I'm trying to say that like, the dude on film, like Jake Gyllenhaal, as an actor playing him, did stupid things. And, like, there was just things, like, where they didn't clear a room, and then, like, they're having a conversation in a non-cleared room, and a guy points out and shoots his friend. I'm like, of course. Like, you didn't fucking look in the room. Like duh. Like, this is just 101. Like, you don't stop clearing until you have
cleared. That's why it's clearing.
Yes. Like, what? Like, you're what? Like, fuck me.
Like, how long? And
Private Bozo.
Well, they even make a point in saying, like, this is my 4th tour. Like, again, if this
is... 4th tour in Special Forces, you don't know how to clear a room yet? Like, what the fuck? Like, alright, dude. Like, and again, like, I'm not trying to make fun of the actual guy. It's just in the movie, it's like there's shit like that that's just hard to watch. And it's...
Well, it's the same thing with, like, police officers police officer drama on TV, and they're like, I can't. I cannot do this.
Like, my suspension of disbelief just doesn't exist for this.
Exactly.
And here's the thing. Like, I'm not trying to in any way shit on the real people who I don't know anything about. I also thought it was kind of funny where, like they heroed this guy, and
Yes.
it's like because here's the thing, like Sergeant so and so, like that might like if somebody's missing, you might be looking for like Sergeant Smith out there. I think his name's
Right.
Kenny in this. But like the dude looks at him and says, "Oh, you're so and so," because no one uses your full names in the military. Nobody even knows your full
I mean,
name.
he flat out
Uh-huh.
literally looks at the guy for 2 seconds and
Oh.
is like, "This is that guy!" Like completely, like full recognition, first and last name, knows his face, is
Right.
like completely.
Well, I mean, I
You know.
imagine that like they're putting out like wanted things. Like if you're going out
Sure.
look for this guy, like I'm sure that there was not wanted posters, but like briefs, like
Right.
where you're like looking for this guy that's whatever. Because like when guys go missing, like you're
Right.
looking for them, like because people do get captured.
Also, I mean, if you look uniquely American in Afghanistan, I mean,
sure.
you look like an American in
Well, the thing
Afghanistan.
is, there's white people in Afghanistan.
Sure, but not wearing military uniform.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. But you'd be surprised because like a lot of the I'm gonna say Haji. That's not very politically correct, but
No.
like the the enemy, the people like they would be able to. Because here's the thing: you can buy a uniform on Amazon.
Sure.
So like that was a big deal where they would take them off bodies and clean them and whatnot. So they were always trying to like find people who looked white enough or like black enough and like learn them to speak English and whatnot. And they were always trying some shady shit. But my point is like, yeah, for the most part, yeah. But no, I thought it was a good enough film. I mean, like I said, there's very few films out there that get 100% right. Like the only film
Yeah.
where I was like looking at it, was like, oh, they actually did a great job. To the point where they hired some of the original team to play themselves in the movie.
No, really?
Yeah, it was Generation Kill.
Huh.
It was an HBO series.
Ah, that would do it. I mean, if anybody would do it, HBO.
Yeah, but it's like they don't like hype it up. It gets the boredom and the action like in equal measures. It's the best one.
The hurry up and wait.
Oh my god, it's the hurry up and wait, and then it, like shit your pants.
Oh
Like,
god.
but they get it right. And
Yeah.
like the thing is David Simon did it, who I'm a huge fan of, and he gets like the inundation of lingo and verbiage
Yeah.
where he doesn't it basically they speak military talk for 10 hours and eventually you pick it up.
Sure.
Like there's no like hand holding and this is
No,
like this me because you need that in a film
Yeah.
because like there's a density of the way that it's being spoken to communicate what needs to be communicated.
Sure.
And when you don't do that and you cherry pick and you handhold, like you don't get as much in, like they'll have one, because like my favorite thing is in the 80s they used to do military movies where they'd have one term and they'd spend 2 hours explaining
Yes.
that one fucking term but everything else wasn't.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay.
And they did a little bit of they did a decent job of having enough military language in there, and then also having like the the one-off the text on the side where it would
they would explain it.
where they would explain it.
But I
what
thought
it
that was
meant.
well enough done.
Yeah.
Like I said, overall, I thought I don't think this is winning any Academy Awards.
Nah.
I do think that it's as critical of Biden as you can get in Hollywood today.
Sure.
And I'm sitting here talking about Guy Ritchie always thinks he's a sort of. I actually think that this is as subversive as you can get against the current administration in Hollywood in mainstream
Sure.
without saying it.
Sure. I mean, I thought it was a great film. I personally love military films. Like, I just
Sure.
do. I liked the brotherhoodness of this movie.
Yes.
I liked how it was very pointed in that
Sure.
that there was that camaraderie.
Sure.
And I even liked the 2 kind of mirror cutscenes of Jake Gyllenhaal and the other guy where they're kind of sitting on the the guy who plays Ahmed, where they're kind of doing the mountain scene and they're just lamenting.
Mm-hmm.
Like I kind of liked the mirror image of that lamenting scene where it's like, okay, I'm gonna sit here and lament for whatever, but I still have to pick up my shit and do real people things, and I can't sit here and just give up on life. I have a team that supports me, or that I'm supporting.
Right.
I have a family that I'm supporting. I have things that I need to live for, and I need to get back to
Sure.
Whatever it is, you know, in this case, the military base. I need to get back to the military base because if I don't, my family or what have you, they're going to die. And I like that kind of mirror image because that added to the camaraderie, the brotherness of those two characters.
The one thing I didn't like about it is the superheroing that they did of Kenny. Like, and here's the thing, like, I'm not, like, again, like, I don't know Kenny, I'm not trying to say anything bad about the individual, but there is a sense of, like, so, like as a trope in films, like, I'm thinking, like, you know this film, Escape from New York.
Yeah.
Everywhere that Snake Plissken goes, oh, it's Snake. You know, and it's like, you don't even need to see Snake do anything all that great, because to be honest with you, in the film itself, Snake doesn't do all that much. Which
it's the legend of Snake.
It's the legend of Snake. And the fact that, like, the idea that Kenny did something where he's a legend now and precedes him, and, like, he's basically Snake fucking Plissken in this. Yeah. And I feel like that doesn't exist too much in the military. Like, there's one or two
I really don't
guys like that.
I mean, I was never in the military, but I would imagine that, no, there's not a lot of singling outness, because in general, that's not what the military is about. It's not about the singling out.
Well, I don't know. Like, I'll give you an example of this, and again, like, I'm not trying to shit on any individuals, but it's Hollywood, it's media, it's all the crap. Where, like, I lost friends, and, like, none of them ever will get a movie made about them, like anything like that, which is fine. Like, I'm not, like, trying to, you know, like, tell my friends stories or anything, but so, like, there is this thing in terms of hierarchy of media where Navy SEALs' lives matter more. And, like, when one dies, it's like fucking God on Earth gave his life for fucking mankind. Yeah. And, like, here's the thing. I'm not saying Navy SEALs don't die. I'm not saying their lives are worthless or that those people didn't do great things. It's just that, like, there is a level of, like, you know, Jesus on the fucking cross. Yeah. That happens where, like, a normal soldier gets killed and they're like, oh, fuck it, you know, add another to the tally. Yeah. And it's like, that's very insulting for somebody who's not that. Right. Like, oh, your life matters so much fucking more than mine. And, like, I understand that there's training and whatnot, and here's the thing, in the world of SF, I'm not saying, like, I was at that level by any means, and I'm not trying to, like, you know, create that aura of myself, but it's not, like, SEALs aren't even the highest of the high. They're not. No, it's just the... It's the name recognition. It's the name recognition. It's the brand recognition. Media. It's the fact that, like I had a Navy colonel's wife. Funny enough, like, I was dating his daughter, or excuse me, not his daughter, his niece. But she was staying with him, and I was in his house, and his wife had this collection. I've never seen such shit in my life. She had like 30 books, and it was like the Navy SEAL fucking women's romance novel series. Oh gosh. And I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? You know? It is actually, so it's funny that you mention it, because I can't remember, I don't know if it's one of my aunts or my grandmother, but one of them has a thing for that, because, so I don't know who reads it, but I get this call every maybe like 9 to maybe 14 months of the, hey, I need you to come to the house and pick up a box of books, and just take them to half price, and whatever you get for them, just keep the money. You know, so like every 6 to 8, you know, like 9 to 14 months or so, I'll get this call, and hey, you know, pick up this box of books, and it's mostly a like nod to like, hey, if you need a couple extra bucks, you know, run these books over to half price, and invariably it's a box full to the brim of nothing but Viking and Navy SEAL romance novels. I have yet to ask which one of them actually reads this, but it's like yearly. It's a huge box. So they're reading like 2 a week. I mean, they've got to be. If it's just pure, maybe it's one's Viking and one's Navy SEAL. Sure, but like the fact that there are that many stories about Navy SEALs that you could possibly rehash in a romance novel, like, yeah, they've got their own shelf. At the half price bookstore. Well, you know, it's funny. It's like it's so funny to me, because like you think about like Navy SEALs, and like they're selling for the Navy, but like mostly speaking, and I say this like non-joking. So like they were I don't want want to get into too much details there, but they were redoing certifications on who could certify the Navy for our job. So the Navy had their own school, but it lost its certification. So Navy personnel that needed certification had to get certified by the Army, while the Navy redid their certification through the DoD. So we had a bunch of Navy people in when I was reclassing, also going through our thing. So we were talking to them. They already had their mission. And, like, they had never, ever seen a firearm before. Like, I mean, never. Never once. Not, like, I literally had to go through...
unfathomable to me.
Because in order to take the Army training, they had to go through the Army FTX, which meant, you know, carrying rifles on the FTX. And they had, like, literally, like, showing them which side to hold it, all the things. And these are, like, high-ranking Navy people.
That to me is just astounding, mind-blowing, like, all the adjectives, like, unfathomable. Like, I just can't imagine. Mostly because of, like, the legend, the lore of, like, Navy SEALs, and then you tell me,
I don't mean Navy SEALs. These are just Navy personnel.
Oh, okay. Now, that I can get. Like, Navy personnel in general, not seeing a firearm. Okay, that makes sense to me. Right,
but when you go through Sears, like, it's like the fucking pilots. Like you have to teach them the fucking what end of a rifle is what, too. So, like, I mean, but my point is like, the Navy SEALs sell the Navy to people who are going to be scrubbing decks for fucking 20 years. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, because it's funny, like I have never been on a Navy vessel for deployment's sake, so I'm getting all of this secondhand. But, like, you hear people talk about, like, going on these ships, and it's like you have these aircraft carriers that are the size of a city. And you essentially are on it for 6 months to a year, however long you're out. Right. And you literally never leave a room. Like, because you can't have everyone willy-nilly going everywhere. So it's like your sonar, or what the fuck ever. So there's a sonar room. Right. And you go to your sonar room, and if you see anything, you get on the radio and tell whoever. Like, again, I'm not trying to get technical, so whatever. Right. But, like... And then you go literally across the room into a bunk, and the way that they do the bunk system is they'll have 3 shifts, and you get the bunk for 8 hours, and there's 3 people who get the same bed, and you're always trading in and out to save space, and you do that for forever. So it's like, you can't sell people on that. So you have to sell people on Navy SEALs, so people join the Navy so they can have the dude sleep in, like, the fucking, like, flea mattress.
I mean, you've got to sell. I mean, the thing about recruiters is the recruiters are going to make any of the military branches look as absolutely most glamorous as possible, and then you're a potato peeler. Right.
Right. It's like, you know, for every Top Gun, like, they get recruitment up, but like what somebody's doing is actually just refueling the plane. Like, that's the guy that, like, oh, I want to work on planes. Oh, you want to be on Navy planes? Are you going to do Top Gun? Here, learn how to fucking pump gas, motherfucker. Like. So, like, I feel like, I know we're getting off the thing on Navy SEALs, but it's like, I don't know, like, I feel like the idea that this guy is, like, a hero, he's a myth, and people, like he's Snake fucking Plissken, and you say this guy's name, and everyone's like, yes, I would have done that for free if I knew it was you.
I love that line, because I just did. I love that it was like, well, if I had known it was you, like, you didn't see his face?
Right, like if he was that much of a fucking legend. Yeah,
like at the moment you saw him, you couldn't have been like, huh, you look familiar. Like, I'm pretty sure.
Is that you, Snake?
Yeah. The other thing that I really love about that line is he's like, I would have done it for free. This dude...
I'm not returning your money back or nothing.
Yeah. Like, this dude remortgaged his house to get this guy out of Afghanistan, which I'm not, like, shitting on that, but, like, this dude was like, I would have given you your house back, but, like, I already have the money, so, you know, screw you and your family.
Sucks to suck.
Like, and your remortgaged bill. Like, you're not going to get any of that money back.
Right, I didn't even send guys to help.
Nah, I didn't even send guys to help you, but, you know...
And not to mention that, like, the actual help is the gunship that is deployed.
Yeah.
Which the security team wouldn't have, like, they would have had no control over.
Right. Like, so, I love that he called the military. Like, he didn't
So I took your $150 grand to make a phone call.
Yeah. But I would have done that for free had I known it was you. Like, that just killed me. I was like, that is the greatest line of that whole movie.
Yeah, Snake.
You didn't think about that? Like, I thought about that. Like, though, as soon as he said it, I was like, yeah, it sucks for that remortgage bill.
Sucks to suck. Good luck. Godspeed.
Oh, well, wife, we're going to have to work, quadruple shift now.
Yeah. Like, what I was waiting for is, like, as soon as the title was done, like, fucking Kenny's like, all right, Ahmed, you need a job, and you owe my ass.
No, for
so
real.
until you're done paying this shit off. Like, the covenant is how much you fucking owe me working in my shop rebuilding. It's funny. You said that you like engines. I just so
happen. Yeah, like, you want to be a mechanic? Have I got a job for you?
Half minimum wage.
I really, it's just, that line was just too good to...
Yeah, like...
To just not...
But no, like, I hate the, like... Because here's the thing. I'm not trying to make fun of the actual Kenny at all. I'm really not.
Sure.
But, like, it's the idea that they're selling to the fucking 18-year-old who's getting, like, talked to by the recruiter that you are going to, like...
You're going to be this guy.
You're going to be a hero. People are going to know your name. You're going to walk into a room and they're going to be like, oh, there's John. John fucking... It was John Kenny.
It was John Kenny. So, the other thing that I kind of... Like, it messed with me a little bit about the film is that, like, John Kenny is the one that is, the hero.
Right.
And they do make Ahmed, they do make him also to be like, he's so famous, he's hiding from the Taliban and all that. So I don't mean to, like, diminish his character, but, like, he didn't do anything. Not the actual military personnel. Like, John Kenny didn't do anything. He was carried, like, 100 clicks. Right. You know what I mean? So they're, like, the idea that he's the hero.
Sure.
Or that he's the one that they recognize. Like, if I had known it was you, like, he didn't do anything. Right. He was on a slow medevac, like a very slow. Right. And so, like, he's not the one, he's not the hero. But also, like, the fact that there was never a nod to all the, like, his entire dead team. Right. Like, there's the one line.
They don't care at all.
Yeah, like, there's the one line where air support goes in and they're like, we've recovered... everybody or whatever except for these two, blah, blah, blah. But that's the only time that they're ever mentioned. There's no nod to any of the other lost lives. It's the famous guy who's famous for being carried.
Because, like, here's the reality. Like, that colonel who's like, hey, we could, like, fly you in. No. QRF, 3 hours out. Well, what the fuck? The idea that, like, the current, like, and again, like, I don't know the real story, but in the movie, that colonel who's in charge is a moron. Or you wait until you have backup to go into a potentially hostile situation like that.
And that's what I thought, like, to myself. Again, not a military person.
Right. But here's the deal. Like, special forces, you fuck them like that, and, like, they get everybody killed because you wouldn't help them.
Yeah.
You get shot. Like no joke. Like, there was a team when I was there, and, like, there was a team got surrounded, and the helicopters to evac them wouldn't go in because of, like, the wind was
weather.
The weather was like the wind speeds was like 5 miles over what they were allowed to get up the helicopter.
Weather was weathering.
Weather was weathering, and anyways, the whole team died. And the colonel that made that decision, like, fucking disappeared.
Yeah, like, that to me messed with me a lot because, so it's 2 Humvees. So this is not like 2 tanks, 2 whatever. Like, this is 2 Humvees. Right.
Not up armored in, like, 2018, which, like, did not exist.
Right. Like, so there's 2 Humvees that have, correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe like a team of 8.
Well, so they're very ambiguous on numbers because, like, the way we would run it.
Well, wait. So, like, my point is, like, 2 Humvees, and they really, like, you kind of assume, like, 4 people in each Humvee, so you're, like, 8, maybe 2 on the top, so 10.
Well, they can hold up to 5.
Sure, but my point is, like, very limited numbers. You've got 2 Humvees, very few people, less than 10, and they go into this hostile situation with nothing, like, just themselves. And they don't even really, like, they don't even report that anything is happening until they actually find the IEDs. So up until then, like, nobody even knows that they're there.
Well, no, when they
like,
find the cache, they call that in and call for QRF. But so like the way it worked for us at the time was you needed a minimum 3 vehicles to leave the gate, and this is for everybody. And I want to say, I don't remember, I think it was maybe 10 people. So you can act like you don't have to fully load
right.
to go out the gate. So like the minimum that you need is a driver, a TC, who is the I never remember like what that means. It's basically the guy who's on the radio.
Communications.
Yeah, and then you've got your gunner.
Right.
So like those are the 3 people you need, and then you have 2 in the back who you may or may not have. So this is 10 something years removed, but I believe it was like, so like you have 3 Humvees. I want to say it was like 10 people because you had to get 1 other person. So like, you know, you could roll out with a pretty empty back because you also want to leave the back seats a little open in case you take hostages.
Sure.
Or you like actual hostages is probably not the right term, but like prisoners. You know, like if you know people surrender, you want to have room to take them back.
Sure.
So you want empty seats just in case, but you also don't want to be too skeleton either.
Right.
So yeah, like that was just generally the way that went. So like like nothing's up armored. And like everything just bursts into flames at the, you know, anytime there's a rocket or whatever, which, you know, like specifically up armored things are designed not to do.
Right.
So like it was weird when I first saw them because like I know when the invasion first happened, they didn't have up armoreds for everybody, so they were sending like the whatever, like the unarmored, you know, vehicles over there, but like. I got there in 2006, and they'd already switched completely to up armored and were using the unarmored only for the people driving around on base.
That makes sense.
So yeah, like the idea that there was unarmored in Special Forces in 2018, I'm going to call bullshit.
Sure.
However, I will also say from a lighting and movie standpoint, the up armoreds, like they're thick, they're armored, obviously. So you're going to have... like it's hard to get cameras in there. So like in the movie Jake Gyllenhaal, like he doesn't even have a top on his. Like it's basically like a convertible Humvee that he's driving, which is good for lighting. It makes him look cool. Yeah. It looks cooler because like here's the thing: when you're actually, it's like they make fun like we were just talking about Generation Kill. Like in that movie, they're in up armors, or actually I don't think they have up armors in that, but they have like normal, you know, Humvees, and they're uncomfortable as fuck. Like everyone's driving like this. Like there's no elbow room. Right. Everyone's back's fucked up. I'm tall, so like I, you know, like just like when I think of a Humvee, it's just automatically, you know, and like the seats are fucked, so like they push you forward, and it's like okay, now hold in place for 8 hours. Fuck. Yeah. You know, like.
And then we wonder why everybody comes out of the military with a fucked up back.
Oh yeah, and you're wearing body armor and fuck. I mean, it's like. Least comfortable thing possible, but like you don't want to get blown up. Like that's why you have the up armor. So yeah, so like I think there's just a lot of things. Like I'm not saying that an up armor would have, you know, stopped people from being killed, obviously, but it's like the way they died is wrong.
Yeah, like well, I mean, I'm not even mad about like the way they died. I'm just mad that like just the situation that they walked into. I'm like that just doesn't make sense to me that you're just gonna like. To me, like non-military person watching a military film, to me it felt very like we're going to throw you to the wolves. We're going to send as few number of people as possible in a couple of vehicles to this situation. You're going to be like way the heck out there, and
that happens.
And we're just like you know like we're basically a million hours away. We're never going to get there in time, and so like like you died.
Yeah, like I mean, I feel like to me, the fact like when he visits the colonel again, he's like, "We're gonna get Ahmed out." Like the first thing I would say to that colonel is, "You got my fucking guys killed."
Sure.
Like it's not, "Oh, I saved your life." Whenever, no. Like remember Johnny and fucking all the other dudes. Remember that? Yeah, they're fucking dead, and it's your. Like I know dudes literally that have like there's bounties in the fucking underranks for like people who got people. We had one dude, who. Like, he got promoted. So, like, he had teams throughout all of, I think it was Afghanistan. It might have been Iraq. I don't remember for this. But he had them all come back for his promotion. So they had to drive through enemy territory, out on positions. 4 of them died.
Ugh.
So like all of them, like there is like all of them, like we need to kill this dude. Like there was just like all the survivors are like, we need to get this dude for being an idiot. And it's like,
yeah,
like there is a thing about competency of getting other people killed where it's like,
yeah,
like you, like we remember you, dude. Like,
yeah. But like other than
but
that,
here's the
like
thing, I don't know about the real guy because
Sure.
again, like this is movie logic.
right.
And like there might have been contributing factors that weren't his fault, which the movie doesn't go into, and I don't know.
Sure.
Um,
I mean, I like the movie from a brotherhood standpoint. I like the
Right.
movie for what it is. Like the
Right.
fact that it's named Covenant. I really like that at the end of the movie. It even like did the definition.
Right.
And I liked that. I liked that there was that, you know, we promised you something. You were good on your end. Not only were you good on your end by fulfilling
Right.
your promise, but you got me out. And like, I'm coming back to like, it's the like, you double down, so I'm going to double down. Like,
Right.
you got me out when you didn't have to. So I'm going to get you out when I don't have to.
Right.
And I liked that. Like,
Sure.
I think
And
that I think it was a worthwhile story to tell.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's like that one scene from The Town where he's like, "Look, I need you to come with me. We're going to hurt some people. You can never talk to me about it again."
Right.
And I feel like there are people that I know who, if they gave me that call, yeah, I'm there to bet. And you know, like I don't know, like funny enough, I got one of those calls not too long ago. It's for a job for the government, but no, like there's those kinds of calls and those kinds of things that you like. I never wanted to get back into it again, but the guy who called me is like, "You owe me," and I'm like, "Fuck," you know. It's like one of those type of things, and so I don't know. Like I understand it and I appreciate that, and I think most people don't. I think from a technical and tactical standpoint, this movie is mostly bullshit. I don't like the Snake Plissken like you will become legend. I mean, I'll give you another example, and this one, this is a very unpopular opinion in the military circles. I'm going to get into it though. So like the American Sniper dude.
Okay, yeah.
So like, I never met the guy. You know, he was in Iraq. I never was in Iraq. So, like, I don't know anything about there. Apparently, he was actually a legend in his own time. I don't know. Like, he wrote his book, and there have been parts of the book that have been called for bullshit by multiple people. So, like, I don't...
I mean, here's the thing about putting yourself out there.
Right.
If you're going to put yourself out there, no matter what, you're going to have haters.
Oh, it's not about being haters. Like, he openly just wrote shit that was dog shit. Like he wrote things that are impossible. So there's two things that happened. There was one mission that he claims that he went on that just could not have happened. Like, from every practical standpoint, he was tooting his own horn. And here's the thing. He supposedly did things where you don't have to toot your own horn because you did great things. Like, but, Chris Kyle, that's the guy's name. You know, there's that. But then he goes out of his way to drag Jesse Ventura. You don't know if you know who Jesse Ventura is. He's a dude from Predator, the one we just He was governor of Minnesota. He was also a Navy SEAL during the Vietnam era.
Right.
So he's been a staunch independent, kind of libertarian. He was outspoken against the war. He was kind of a 9/11 conspiracy theorist.
Sure.
So he was saying things that Chris Kyle didn't like politically. So, like, whatever, you know, like, I'm not going to get into that too much. I would imagine he didn't like him politically. I don't know. So anyways, he writes this bogus bullshit story about how they were at a Navy SEAL bar and Jesse was talking about how it's a good thing that the American soldiers are dying, and they were supposedly at the bar after a funeral of one of his teammates, and Jesse's saying how it's a good thing, so he goes outside and beats the shit out of Jesse.
Sure.
This is proven to be an absolute bullshit story. Jesse wasn't at the bar. He never said those things.
Right.
It's been proven undeniably false. Jesse sued him in court and won. And it was proven that he basically just defamed him because Jesse was a famous Navy SEAL who he could like tie his name off of.
Right.
And then there's other parts of his book that are known false, which then drags into question other parts too.
Right. Like that's the thing about like once your character and all the things, like once one thing is called, everything else is then suspect.
Right. Yeah. And like here's the thing, like then Chris gets murdered by the guy who he was trying to help, which is obviously horrible. But like the Jesse, like what they did to Jesse is just like people were getting on Jesse's case so fucking bad, and it pisses me off from like every standpoint possible because they took someone famous. Yeah. You know, he's a famous wrestler, politician, all the things, and they're like, I want to be famous, so I'm going to defame him and take what he had. Yeah. As if, like, he doesn't have his own fucking trauma from the Vietnam War. Like, your war doesn't fucking trump his. Like, his, like you know.
Well, the idea that anybody's trauma, especially when you talk about, like, military, the idea that your military trauma trumps anybody else's military trauma is just stupid.
It's total horseshit. And then what they did to assassinate him afterwards is here's the thing. So the book comes out and Jesse just says, "Look, retract this. Right. Just retract it. Say it was admit that you lied. Right. And there's nothing." And Chris didn't. This is while Chris is alive. Right? So then because Jesse even told him, it's going to cost me, I've estimated the cost of my lawyer, it's going to cost me $1.8 million to sue you. I don't want to do that. Right. So
just take it out.
So if I have to sue you, I'm going to sue you for money to recompensate for my legal fees for suing you because I want this taken out. Right. So then, during the lawsuit, Chris dies. Right. Chris Kyle dies. So then, the whole narrative became he's suing the wife and taking all of her money. And here's the thing, the reason why that was able to go on for almost 2 years till the end of the trial was the judge had took the lawyers aside and said, you can't make it public that the money that's going to be compensated Jesse is going to come from the insurance and from the publisher and not actually from the widow because it could sway the jurors. So for 2 years, Jesse was taking the bereavement money from a widow. Yeah. And no one painted him as the victim. Right. So Jesse just got fucked.
He really did.
That is just one of those things where the only thing he wanted
was fairness.
Sure. You fucking defamed me. You took my celebrity and drug it through the mud because you thought you were special. And I want you to take it back publicly. Sure. And then it became not only there's still people he still did it. And it's no, for a matter of fact, he did not. And then on top of that, you're making it where he's suing the widow and taking her money because that was the story that ran unabated for 2 years. And it killed Jesse's whole career.
Yeah, well, again, anytime you get into memoir stuff and history, because then it gets into the politics of how much is the publisher liable for vetting your story. Right. Because let's be honest.
I mean, she said that everybody has their own truth nowadays and their version.
Right, but not just that. It's also the anybody. And I say anybody loosely, because not everybody is a writer, and nor should they be. Right. But, anybody could come up with a good story.
Well, half the time, it's a ghostwriter for these things anyway. The guy sits down with someone.
An interviewer.
Right, and then they write the story from the interview.
Yeah, and so, to be honest, I used to, when I was much younger, I'd say probably 15 to maybe 22. Mm-hmm. I really loved reading biographies and autobiographies. And as I got older, I really started to very much dislike that because it just became a lot of storytelling. Sure. How much of it is storytelling and how much of it is, especially when you do the autobiographies. Right. It just gets to be, you know what, I'd rather just read some history facts.
Well, again, here's the other thing, is I read one of my favorite, actually same author that did, I got onto the author who did I just said the name of the HBO series.
The military HBO series.
Generation Kill.
Yeah.
So the guy who wrote the book, I got onto him. He did another one called American Desperado.
Oh, yeah.
And it's about this fucking hitman from the mob days. And, like, basically he starts the whole book out with, at a very young age, I decided that evil was stronger and I would serve the devil, and it had served me my whole life, and here's all the evil I did, and here's how fucking I just was able to, like, steamroll goodness my entire life. And just, like, it's whatever, but it's also from the standpoint of, here's a dude who made a reputation in the underworld. Who knows if any of it's like how much of it is true? Because here's the thing, right? If you kill 80 people, why not round up to 100? Like, what's the fucking difference at that point?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, who's gonna fucking fact check that?
Well, like, who's really gonna, like, if let's be honest, if anybody tells you, I've killed 100 dudes, I mean, are you really gonna go prove it?
Right.
Like, make me your 101.
Right.
No.
Right. So, like, I'm not saying that dude didn't kill anybody, but, like, when you get into the far-fetchedness of some of his claims, it's just like, you know, you get into the guys who get off on the idea of having those stories, so it's a one-upmanship, and it's almost like becomes sociopathic in how they tell those stories.
And everybody knows that guy.
Right.
Like, I can, off the top of my head, automatically, I know one of those guys who, anytime you get into a conversation with them, it doesn't even matter what, it's the one-up. And I'm like, you know what? I don't even know whether or not to believe you, or if this has ever even happened to you, but it's always happened bigger and harder to you,
than everybody else. And like, here's the thing, like that's the reason, like, I don't like going to, like, the VA or, like, the you know, VFW and all that shit, because it's a bunch of dudes. Most of them are fobbits. Let's be real. It's like fobbits are the people who never left the base. They're called fobs. Call them fobbits.
That's funny.
Yeah. Forward operating bases. Yeah. So, like, it's a bunch of fobbits talking about, like, you know, like, there's a piece of shrapnel that landed. I mean, like, there are stories that, like circulate the fob. So, like, I here's one. I don't know if this is true or not, but it's circulated, and I'll never forget it. Is, like, a dude who was an MP who was supposedly, like, 3/10 down from us. There was a mortar round that got fired into base, and they didn't catch it for whatever fucking reason. Because normally, like, they have like a electric field that, like, you know, sees incoming things, so you get the alarm before it hits. They didn't, for whatever reason, hear this one coming in, and it landed under his bunk and didn't go off. So it came in through the top of the tent, landed under his bunk, you know, and it's like, you know, like 8 dudes claim that they were the guy next to him or whatever, and it's like, they don't even know if that fucking story's real. Like, like it's fucking, like, you know, legend. Yeah, sure. You know what I'm saying? So, like, you know, and then people take that as, like, you know, it happened to them, and like, you get a bunch of military guys together, and it's all one big dick measuring contest. Sure. And it's like there's an idea where I think I could win some of these stories, but I don't care to, because, like, now I'm just talking about trauma. And 2, like, you're not even talking about a real story. Like, there's no whatever. It's just like a fucking tall tale at that point that you're trying to, like...
It's the big fish story.
Yeah.
You know, I caught a fish, and then you, like, this big, but you hold your hands way out here, like, you know what I mean?
Right. But
you know, big fish or not.
Yeah, like, I mean, like, don't get me wrong, people have stories. I'm not saying that they're all bullshit, but I'm just saying, like, for me personally, I can't. I don't like being in those fucking circles.
It's a weird. I've got a lot of military friends, and I've worked with a lot of.
I used to work for USA.
Yeah, so, like, I've worked for a lot of, or with a lot of prior military people. Sure. And I will say it's a fun crowd to work with. Sure. But yes, a lot of it, which, as a civilian, is hilarious to, like, just sit while they're, like trading stories.
Well, they trade stories, but here's the other one that you hear is like, oh, you were Army this, or like, you're a fucking leg, or this fucking, like, all these, like, it's the same 8 fucking bullshit things. Well, like, stereotypes that just, like, they never fucking die. You never hear the end of them, and, like, they go on forever and ever, and it's like, I wanted to evolve past that shit.
Sure. Well, my favorite was my favorite was always being in the middle of multiple branches.
Sure.
Like, having like having 3 or 4 branches sitting at the same table trying to be on a team, and we're doing like a team building exercise, and
yeah, no, like I just
fantastic.
like it's so funny because like I've been to a lot of training things that are I said interdiscipline, but inter service, and it's like the jokes that people tell in like a dick measuring way is so funny.
Yeah,
because it's just like it's dumb. It's like it's dumb to a level that like
it's hilarious.
Like I just remember like you know. I don't remember. Like there was a Navy dude, and like I remember like one of the jokes. It was so funny that like you just like it was funny because how dumb it was.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
So it was like there was a Navy dude, and like you know and he said like if you buy me a drink, I'll do whatever you want. And the dude buys him a drink, and he's like, "Oh, all right, suck my dick." He's like, "What do I look like, a Marine?" And it's like, "Oh, okay, I see what you did there. You're fucking retarded, but like." You got it.
Good job.
You tried. Got it. Like
sure.
You know, like I just remember like really dumb jokes like that, and it's just like eye roll. Like how hard can I eye roll and get away from this?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, and then, like it never ends. It's the same fucking 8 jokes over and over and over again, and it's like, you know, there's only one of them that I liked.
Sure.
And it's just it's funny because it gets all of the services right.
Oh gosh.
Like the Air Force wins, and I don't like the Air Force, but like it gets them all right.
Sure.
Which is like there's generals at the Pentagon. They're debating on who's going to be in charge of the next war.
Ah, okay.
Have I told you this one?
I'm sure I've heard it before.
Okay. So you know the Army's first.
Right.
They call the private in.
Ah, okay, yeah.
And the private comes in, kicks down the door.
Yeah.
Says, General says, "See, our guys are prepped and ready for fighting." And there's like, or excuse me, that's the Navy first. The Navy, you know, I'm fucking the joke up. But the Navy comes in, knocks the door down. So, you know, the Army's like, "Oh yeah," calls the private in. Private, get in here. Private gets in, shoots the Navy seaman in the back of the head, and the Army general's like, "See, our guys are ready to kill." And the Marine's like, "Oh yeah?" So looks up, and there's a Marine washing windows 10 stories up. It says, "Marine, get down here." Marine jumps, lands on the Army private. They both die in a sea of bodies. And the Marines are like, "Yeah, our guys are willing to die for the cause." The Air Force is like, "Oh yeah?" Sees an airman washing windows 20 stories up. He says, "Airman, jump down here." Airman looks at the general cross-eyed, flips him off, and says, "Fuck you, sir." And the Air Force general says, "See, our guys can think for themselves." That pretty much sums up the branches.
No, but I mean, the thing is, it's never not a stupid joke. Like, no matter how many times I hear that joke, my first thought is always, it's just a stupid joke. Like,
it is. It's not smart.
It's not a smart joke, but it's funny every time.
Yes.
Like, my immediate thought, that's stupid. And immediately after that, hilarity. Like, that's just ridiculous.
But no, the movie.
So the Covenant, I like it. I like the film. I mean, if you're a war person, like if you like war movies, I like it. It's a good movie, good message. I like that it's the nod to the political, like, we fucked these guys. We left these guys.
Yeah, finds a deck, yeah.
Yeah, like, I mean, I kind of didn't like that the thousands were still in hiding because I would imagine that they're dead.
Yeah, they're dead. There's no hiding.
There's no hiding. Like, they were murdered.
There's video of them being hanged out of Apache helicopters that we left.
Yeah, so, like, I didn't like the, like, thousands are still in hiding because it gives the illusion
that we can do so. It's like and we
and we could still go help them. Like, no, they're dead.
And you can help them by sending money to the Ukraine.
Yeah, no. Yeah, like, no. Like, these guys, they were fucked when we left them. They're dead now. Like, there's no hope.
No one's ever going to trust us again. Good job.
Yeah. Like,
thanks, Joe Biden.
It really was. But as far as war movies go, I like it. It was a great film. Obviously, military man watching a military movie, probably not a great idea.
Yeah.
You know, like, you're not going to get...
I like them, but it's like there's just a constant, like, that's dumb. That's dumb. That's dumb. So, like, I'll give you an example of what I thought was, like, the dumbest thing. So, like, this is one of those things that's just so dumb in movies. Everyone has that little like laser pointer thing, and like they sell really good on the civilian market, and so you realize that the real reason they're for is for night firing. So like the actual laser isn't so that you can see the shoot, because most people don't understand how guns work. Hollywood sure the fuck doesn't. But like bullets actually don't travel in a straight line. They actually have like a looping curve to them. So like the line that a laser would do only works if you range it right to a distance.
Right.
So like,
and it's very specific.
It's very specific. So the reason why it's set, I believe it's at 200 meters, is because the idea is you can't shoot past that because you're not aiming down the scope. You actually have to have, well, for us at least, I know that they have the night vision scopes, but at least for our units, you have your night vision goggles on. So it's like, it's weird because like, you're not aiming in a traditional down the rifle sense. You're trying to like look at where the dot is and adjust down here. So it's a very disembodied feeling.
Yeah.
So like you really can't do that at distance.
Right.
So like it's a weird system. So like he has that on his rifle, and like night shooting and night like missions are really the strength of the U.S. So like anytime you're going to go into a mission where they're going to go way off and there's a chance you're going to be outnumbered, you're going to go at night because, you know, in a lot of these areas, especially in the mountains, you can't see.
Right.
There's no light. Most people in that area, they, you know, when it's nighttime, they either go down or, you know, they would do missions where like they would move cargo or move weapons at night, but like you're not doing like tactics at night. The most that you would do that I heard about that was being done is they would bring in like mortar people at night when the U.S. supposedly couldn't see them, and what they do is they bring the mortars in, drop a piece of ice, and then drop the mortar in so that they would have time to get the fuck out before the ice melted.
Oh.
So that was a big thing that they would do it.
That's surprisingly effective and low tech, like, and low just cost.
Yes.
But like from like an effective solution standpoint, like that's rather ingenious.
Yes, but that's a lot of what they would do at night. But like if you're actually going to get in a firefight, it helps to be able to see and aim. Like that's actually, you know, something you want.
No, firing blindly.
At night is not something that works.
Sure.
So like, there's a scene in the movie where the Taliban has the night optics, and the military guy forgets that he does.
Sure.
So like when they're running away, they stop to sleep, and the one place that's like, this is like where they would look for you. Like really where you'd want to sleep is like buried under whatever. And also they don't sleep in shifts. Like you have two guys and they're both asleep.
Oh yeah, I remember. Like I mean, you were so offended by that you literally said out loud in the theater, "That would never happen." And I said, "What?" And you go, "Two people sleeping at the same time."
Well,
like
not like the two
not
people,
two people, but like
the only
two people. Yeah. But like you were so offended that you actually like in the theater out loud were like,
"That's bullshit." Yeah.
Like I throw the bullshit flag on that.
Right.
Absolutely not.
Because it makes sense. Like you leave someone on watch. Like it's just what you're taught to do, so that you don't have a bunch of people
walking up on you,
and shooting you. Like it's a dumb thing.
Yeah.
But you also wouldn't probably sleep in a shelter like that. It's a standing structure that's going to bring attention.
Right.
You'd find a cave or something, which they find later.
Sure.
But here's the other thing. Like, what you'd really be waiting for is to keep low key during the day when you're on an even plane, and then when it comes nighttime and you have the night vision, you haul ass.
Right.
That's actually how U.S. forces work and are trained.
Right.
So, like the fact that they inverted that to where the Taliban had the night advantage, I was like, all right.
Well, not just that, but like it's hot.
Right.
Like it's hot.
Right. You again, Sears, move at night, move at
like
reserve water, reserve energy.
Even if you're a civilian, like you've got to know that if you're in that region of the world, it's flippin' hot.
Yes.
You don't move at the daytime in any kind of desert situation. Like, you just don't.
But movies need light to film.
Right.
So, like...
Suspension of disbelief.
Right.
Blah, 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 blah.
Right, but...
I mean, I understand why they did it.
Sure.
But, like, from a logistical standpoint, you're like, why would you be expending energy, sweating up a storm when you...
Water is such a, like...
Yeah, you have no water, limited food, and you're sweating.
I mean, initially when they're there, getting away from the horde is...
That makes sense.
Like, running during the day, sure. But the moment you're kind of out of their grasp, I would keep moving during the day.
Right.
And then, like, because here's the thing. Extensively, they slept the night before. You know, like, whatever. Because typically before a mission, you get a good night's sleep because you don't know when you're going to sleep again in case shit hits the fan like this. So, like, you're trained to go a good 24 hours. So, like, what I would have done in that situation, I'm sure they did this in real life, is you would, you know, go through the night and try and find shelter for the morning and then take shifts.
Right.
And then keep moving at night so that, like, they're not finding you. So yeah, like anything tactical or like I would do this in a situation about the movie is dead wrong.
Sure.
But the message I liked, the politics I liked. Oh, the other thing, when all the people died, they didn't just get shot; they got blown up. Like they couldn't have just died normal deaths; they all had to like explode.
Well, so not only did they have to explode for cinematics, but when all the bodies were found, they were all
pristine. Yeah.
Like everybody was perfectly laid out. Like, I mean, it was almost like they laid out the dolls.
Sure.
Like laid out perfect dolls of like all the army dudes, and like their faces
like
were
fine. I have a favor for you. Fine.
Yeah, like
my son.
Their faces
Fix
were
him
fine.
so his mother can.
Yeah, like I was like, so this dude just got blown up, literally blown out of a Humvee,
on fire.
On fire, but like his body gets found,
fucking Kendall,
and he's like perfect. Yeah, like ridiculous.
Yep.